All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start out by giving all praises and glory and honor to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawahshi, Ba'ashem, Marakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of well, peace and blessings and citation to the hopeful elect, the Bayath, Dawedah, the house of David. All right, so we're just going to go right into it. So I put Yahawahshi riding upon, I put this into Google, right? So this is what I typed in. It says, Yahawahshi riding upon a donkey was symbolic to King Solomon riding in on a King David's mule, right? So it says, yes, Christian theology, the account of Yahawahshi riding on a donkey into Jerusalem is widely understood as a fulfillment or reenactment of King Solomon's coronation ride, right? It says, on King David's personal mule. The connection highlights in several key symbolic points, right? The legitimate kingship. It says by using David's own mule for Solomon's coronation, David was publicly and unmistakably declaring Solomon as his chosen and legitimate successor. Right. Similarly, Yahawahshi use of a donkey for the entry into Jerusalem was a public declaration of his status as the rightful son of David, the promised Messiah king, right? The Hamashiach, right? It says peaceful intent. It says in the ancient world, kings rode horses when they came to wage war, and donkeys and mules when they came in peace. But Solomon's riding Yahawahshi's entry on a donkey symbolized a reign of peace, right? Meaning shalom, rather than military conquest. This is tied to the prophecy in Zechariah 9:9 in verse number 10. It says, which foretells a humble king who will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the war horse from Jerusalem, and he shall speak peace to the nations. Right? See, you're going to raise up the ruins of David, the house of David, right? You see? It says humility, right? It says the use of humble animals like a donkey or a mule rather than a war stallion or chariot emphasized the king's humility. It says Yahawahshi in particular demonstrated that his kingdom was not of this world, and that his path to kingship involved the humble service and sacrifice, and ultimately leading to the cross, and rather than an earthly throne, right? So it says divine appointment. It says both events were seen as following Yahweh's plan, right? David was careful to obey Yahweh's command that Solomon should be the next king. First Chronicles 22:9-10. It says in Yahawahshi's entry explicitly fulfilled Old Testament prophecies regarding the Messiah. It says, thus the parallel between the two events is a significant aspect of biblical interpretation, illustrating that the continuity of David, all right, Dawadah, all right, David's covenant, and the nature of the Messiah's kingdom as one of peace and humility, right? So that's the order. So the order is this, right? Yahawahshi, King David, the 144,000, which are the elected men, the prophets, the apostles, which are involved. You know, the apostles under Yahawahshi. All right, then the 100, which is all a part of that, the elected men. All right, that 144,000. All right, it says that's what we got there. All right, that's what we got there. So let's go into some scriptures real quick. So that symbolizes that Yahawahshi riding on a donkey. It shows you that reincarnation, that Solomon is Yahawahshi, right? Peter, all right, because when Yahawahshi had said unto Peter, he said, son of Barjona, who did I say that I am? Or, you know, he said, I said, right, listen, what did he say here? Matter of fact, let me see if I can go get it real quick. I I think it's in, let me see. Let's look it up. Alright. So here we go right here. So let's go to Matthew, the 16th chapter, and the 13th verse. And it reads, it says, see, as you see the subhead, Peter's confession of Yahawahshi, right? It says, when Yahawahshi came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, it says, he asked his disciples, saying, who do men say that I am, the Son of Man am? And they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. And he saith unto them, but who say ye that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, thou art Yahawahshi, the Son of the living power, the Son of Yahweh. And Yahawahshi answered and said unto him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. Right. So, see, as you can see right here, and it says, I say unto thee that thou art Peter, right? Meaning a rock. It says, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against thee. So, showing you reincarnation, Peter is David, right? Because the only one that revealed it to him was Yahweh. None of the apostles, all the prophets, all the disciples have said all the other prophets, like John the Baptist, Elias, Jeremiah, and so on and so forth. But Peter was the only one that said that he was the Hamashiach, right? Because Peter, that would be that David, the Most High was dealing with David completely. You know, dealing with David completely. Now that I made that point, let's go here. Let's go to 2 Samuel real quick, right? Because the point of the video is that Yahawahshi riding on a donkey was parallel to the same ways of King Solomon riding on a mule of King David's, right? Which was commanded that Solomon was to be set up to be king right after King David, right? So let's go here. Let's go to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel, the 7th chapter. Where we at with it? 2 Samuel, the 7th chapter, and let's go right to the 10th verse. It says, moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and I will plant them that may dwell in a place of their own, and move no more, and neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them any more, as before time, and as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused thee to rest from all thine enemies. Also Yahweh telleth thee that he will make thee an house. And when the days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, right? And that's Solomon, right? This is King David's seed, right? It says, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. All right? And it says, and he shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. It says, and I will be his father, and he shall be my son, and if he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, right? And this is what happened to Yahawahshi, right? Which was Solomon, right? Because Solomon went off praising other gods, you see, and so on and so forth, man. All right, so it says, but mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee. It says, in thine house and thy kingdom shall be established forever before thee. before thee, and thy throne shall be established forever. According to all these words, and according to all his vision, to all this vision, it says, so did Nathan speak unto David, right? So now let's go here to First Kings. Let's go to First Kings, right? Because we're just reading all about Solomon right now. Then we're going to get into Yahawahshi, right? So let's do this here. First Kings 1 in verse number 28. Let's go right down to the point. Alright, so this right here, this is when David had called Bathsheba, right? So this is 1 Kings 1 and 28. It says, then King David answered and said, call me Bathsheba. And she came, right? And she came into the king's presence and stood before the king. And the king swore and said, as the Lord liveth, Yahweh liveth, that he redeemeth my soul out of all distress, even as I swore unto thee by the Yahweh power of Israel, saying, assuredly Solomon thy son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne in my stead. Even so I will certainly do this day. Then Bathsheba bowed her face to the earth, all right, and did reverence the king, and said, let my Lord King David live forever. All right. It says, and King David said, call me Zadoka, Zaduke, Saduke, all right, Zadoki, Salakia, all right, the priest, right, he was a Levite, okay. It says, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaniah the son of Joadiah, it says, and they came before the king. And the king also said unto them, take with you the servants of the Lord, and call Solomon my son to ride upon my own mule, and bring him down to Gahan, right? And let Zadoka the priest and Nathan the prophet appoint him their king over Israel, and blow ye with the trumpet, and say, Yahweh save King Solomon. Then ye shall come up after him, that he may come and set upon my throne, for he shall be king in my stead, and I have appointed him to be ruler over Israel and over Judah. All right. It says, and Benaniah the son of Joadiah, it says, answered the king and said, among the Lord Yahweh power of my Lord the king say so too, as the Lord have been with as the Yahweh have been with the Lord the king, even so he with Solomon, and make his throne greater than the throne of my Lord King David. All right. You see? All right, so let's go down here. Where we at? Oh, we still read. Let's jump down a little bit. Let's jump down to the point where he rode in on the mule, right? Up there it is, right there. It says, the first verse, it says, Zokai the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaniah the son of Jodiah, and the Cherethites and the Paratherites went down and caused Solomon to ride upon King David's mule, and brought him into Gahan. All right, and Zodiah the priest took a horn of oil out of his tabernacle, and anointed Solomon, and blew the trumpet, and all the people said, Yahweh save King Solomon. There you go. Right, so he came and ride on King David's mule, right? So now, let's continue on. Let's go. Let's get me first. Let me get First Kings, the fifth chapter and the 5th verse. And it says, and behold, I propose to build an house upon the name of Yahweh, my power, as Yahweh spake unto David my father, saying, Thy son, whom I will set upon thy throne in thy room, he shall build an house unto my name. Right? And that's who? That's ultimately Yahawahshi, right? Which we're gonna get into. All right, but we're just reading about King Solomon. Right? So let me go to chapter 6 and verse number 12. And it says this, it says concerning his house, matter of fact, yep. It says, verse 12, it says, concerning the house which thou art in building, if thou wilt walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then I will perform my word with thee, which I spake unto David thy father. All right. You see? So now let me get 1 Kings, the 8th chapter. The 8th chapter, the 19th verse. Right? It says, nevertheless, thou shalt not build the house, but thy son, right? Because David was going to be Solomon, right? Which ultimately, if you can receive it and understand that Solomon is Yahawahshi. All right? It says, but thy son, that thou shalt the fruit of thy loins, right? Okay, it says, but thy son, that thou shalt come forth out of thy loins, he shall build thy house unto thy name. Right? He shall build thy house unto thy name. So now, let's do this here. Let's go down. Let's do this here. Let's go to, now we're going to jump into Yahawahshi, right? So we're going to show you, because I showed you the parallel of Solomon riding on a donkey, which is the same way. So Yahawahshi, so what was that proclaiming? Kinglyship, right? We read about it when I in the beginning of the video, right? So who ultimately, how is the order going to go? Yahawahshi, King David. Right? Because Yahweh is the supreme. Yahawahshi is the right hand of Yahweh. And then guess what? The second in command to Yahawahshi is King David. Right? And then you got the establishing government body of the 144,000. Right? The 1/3, the elected men. Right? So let's get into it. Right? So let's read about Yahawahshi. Right? We're going to go back and forth here with different scriptures. So let me get Zechariah 9 and 9. Zechariah 9 and verse number 9. It says, all right, where we at? Yep, Zechariah 9 and 9. It says, rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, the king cometh unto thee, and he is just, right? He is righteous and having salvation. Henceforth, with his name mean Yahawahshi, which means he is the deliverer, right? He is salvation. He's the savior, right? Lowly and riding upon an ass, right? Which is a donkey, and upon a colt, the foals of an ass. All right, and it says, and I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, right? Because the tribes are going to be coming back together eventually, you know. And it says, and he shall speak peace unto the heathen, right? And he shall speak peace unto the heathen, and his dominion shall be from sea even to sea, and from river even to the end of the earth. Man, complete rulership, right? Complete rulership. Okay. All right. You see, so the battle between Jerusalem and Ephraim, right, which is the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, right? It says, and I will cut off. It says, so like, let's read this again. It says, and I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem, right? It says, and the battle bow shall be cut off, right? And the battle bow shall be cut off. You see? The northern and the southern kingdom. Right? So now let's go. Let me go here to, let me get Isaiah, the 62nd chapter. Let's get Isaiah, that the 62nd chapter. And let me get the 11th verse. Right? This is Psalms, the 67th chapter and 11th verse. It says, Behold, Yahweh hath proclaimed unto the end of the world, say ye to the daughter of Zion, behold, thy salvation cometh, behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. All right. See. So now let me get Matthew 21. Matter of fact, let me get Jeremiah real quick. Jeremiah 23. Do this. Let me get Jeremiah 23. Jeremiah 23, 5 and 6. And it says, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto thee David a righteous branch, right? And that branch is Yahawahshi. And a king shall reign and prosper and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. All right. It says, and in his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely, and this is his name, whereby he shall be called the Lord our righteousness. Right? Yahawahshi. Okay. All right. Let me get Jeremiah 30. Jeremiah 30 in verse number 9. It says, But they shall serve the Lord their power, and David their king, whom I raise up unto thee. Right? Like I said, I read to you the order. You know? All right, so let me get Matthew. Now let me get Matthew 21. Matthew 21, right? So Matthew 21 in verse number 5. It says, Tell ye the daughter of Zion. Now where did you hear this at? You heard this in the book of Zechariah, right? This is Zacharias, which is the Levite, was the father of John the Baptist, right? Zechariah, right? So it says, you heard this from the prophet Zechariah, right? So it says, Tell ye the daughter of Zion, behold, the king cometh unto thee, and meek, and sitting upon an ass, and a colt the foal of an ass. Right? And it says, And the disciples went and did as Yahawahshi commanded them, and brought the ass and the colt, and put on them their clothes, and there set him thereon. Right? It says, And a very great multitude spread their garments in the way, and others cut down branches from the trees and strawed them in the way. And the multitudes that went before and followed cried, saying, Hosanna, the son of David, blessed is he that cometh in the name of Yahweh. Right? Hosanna in the highest. It says, and when he was come into Jerusalem, all the city was moved, saying, Who is this? And the multitude said, This is Yahawahshi, the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee. There you have it. Right? All right, so let me get John 12 and 14. Let me get John 12 and verse number 14. And it says, And Yahawahshi, when he had found a young ass, set thereon, and as it is written, Fear not, daughter of Zion, behold, the king cometh sitting on an ass's colt. All right? You see? Okay, let me read. It says, it says in verse number 16, it says, These things understood not his disciples at the first, but when Yahawahshi was glorified, then remembered that that these things were written of him, and that he had done these things unto him. Right? You see? So let's go where we at with it. Let me go to Zechariah. Let's go to Zechariah. Zechariah 6 and verse number 13. And it says, let's start at verse number 12. It says, and he spake unto him, saying, thus speaketh the Yahawah of hosts, saying, behold, the man whose name is the branch, that's Yahawahshi. It says, and shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of Yahawah. All right, and even he shall build the temple of Yahawah, and he shall bear the glory, and he shall sit and rule upon his throne, and he shall be a priest unto his throne, and the counsel of peace shall be between them both. Right, that's talking about Yahawahshi. All right, so let me get Matthew 16. Let's get Matthew the 16th chapter. Matthew the 16th chapter, the 18th verse. And it reads, and it says, and I say unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against thee. Right? The gates of hell shall not prevail against thee. Let me get Luke. Let me get Luke 1 and 31. Let's go right down to it. Luke 1 and 31. And it says, and behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb, and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Yahawahshi. Right? It says, and he shall be great, and he shall be called the Son of the Highest, and the Lord Yahawah, right, shall give unto him the throne of his father David, and he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom there shall be no end. Right? In his kingdom there should be no end. And you have it. All right. So let me get 1 Peter. This is 1 Peter 2 in verse number 5. It says, and ye also are lively stones. Right? And ye also are lively stones. Because this is what? The spiritual third temple, man. Each brother is a brick. All right? Being built up. The house of David. All right? It says, are built up as a spiritual house, a holy priesthood to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to Yahawah by Yahawahshi the Hamashiach. Right? So let me get Psalms the 89th chapter. Right? So let's get Psalms the 89th chapter. Psalms the 89th chapter, and let's go to the 4th verse. Right? So this is what we know. So this is how you know that this is concerning the seed, right? Between both parallels between Solomon and Yahawahshi, right? It says, thy seed will be established forever and build up thy throne to all generations. Salah. Right? So let's jump down to verse number 21. And it says, with whom my hand should be established, and my arm also shall strengthen him. Right? Let's jump down to verse number 29. It says, and his seed also I will make to endure forever, and his throne as for the days of heaven. Right? Let me get verse number 36 and 37. And it says, this his seed shall endure forever. Right? His seed shall endure forever, and his throne as the sun before me. And it shall be established, forever as the moon and as a faithful witness in heaven. Salah. Right? So let me get Isaiah the 9th chapter real quick. Isaiah the 9th chapter in the 7th verse. And it says, of the increase of his, let's read up at verse 6. It says, for unto us a child is born, and for unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the mighty Power, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And of the increase of his government and peace there should be no end, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of Yahawah of hosts will perform this. You see? Now let me get my last scripture in Isaiah, the 49th chapter. Isaiah, the 49th chapter, in the 8th verse. And it reads, it says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, right? Or thus saith Yahweh, and in an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in a day of salvation have I helped thee, and I will preserve thee, and I will give thee for a covenant of thy people to establish the earth and to cause to inherit the desolate heritages. All right, so with that, we give all praises and glory and honor to Yahawah, Ba'ashem, Yahawahshi, Ba'ashem, Marakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone to be well, peace and blessings and citation to the hopeful elect, the Bayath, Dawodah, the house of David. Shalom, the Bible Ball.